This is Liriope gigantea or Liriope. I've heard it said both ways. Giant lily turf. It's a nice evergreen grass and really good in shady locations. You can see it here growing under a magnolia tree, here in a shady planter box. And so let's get into how we like it in design. Again, very tolerant of shady areas and also the roots of other larger plants. And that's always a tough one, especially the root thing with trees. So this is a good one to fill in as a ground cover. There's lower growing varieties. I like the size of this one. It's 24 to 36 inches tall and wide. Here we're getting a close look of the flower stems. And the flowers are kind of interesting. This plant here was being cut back, so then when the flowers come up, they're very visible, whereas this other planting that's shown in the live movie, here's a good look of a group planting under a tree as well. But this planting here, where they're left full size, these are 24 to 30 inches high and wide, it's really hard to see the flowers, and that's kind of the nature of this plant. So I don't use them for the flower. They're a nice bonus point kind of a thing, but that's not really why I use it. I use it as a texture and also as a nice, well, really more as a texture or a tall ground cover or massing. So and that's how they've used it here. So they're evergreen down to 0 degrees, and that in itself is a nice thing for a grass. So many of the grasses are deciduous, so to find an evergreen variety of this size is very valuable in plant design. That said, let's talk about exposure. So they're best in shade or part shade, especially in hot areas. I live in a hot inland valley that's very dry, and we certainly do not use this in full sun. The few times I've seen somebody try, they tend to get burn on the leaves, so I don't recommend that. Also, as a grass, it does like good drainage. Here in this planter, it's pretty safe. Under this tree, there's not much soil there anyway because of the dense roots, so these prefer good drainage. They do divide slowly. They tend to clump, and you can divide them, but I had some for 6 or 7 years, and I never had to do anything in terms of division, so that's not really a big concern with this plant. It's very low maintenance. That's what I liked about it. I hardly did anything. During a rough winter, you might get some dieback where you needed to go in and selectively remove those. But the other thing I like is I don't need to cut this all the way down during the winter and have it grow back out of that. I can leave this for years, and it's going to look good without any maintenance at all. And I'm always looking for that in a plant if I can get it. So I think that's what I can tell you. Oh, in terms of water, I'd say moderate water, especially depending on the sun exposure. If you're in a cooler coastal area, this can take low to moderate water once established. But if you're in a hot inland area, I would recommend that you give it moderate water to keep it happy. And that's what I can tell you about Liriope gigantea, giant lily turf. Enjoy.